Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Dunigan.
And we're going kind of back a little bit here. Well, I guess back for like an indie comic, but decided we talk about one that Ryan here found on Comixology called Gun. You know, and no tie to the gun, to that great Western game from the GameCube era.
From 2003 or 2004, where it was kind of like, it was sort of like proto Red Dead Redemption, or it was kind of like that point where I think it probably came out similar around the time of the original Red Dead Revolver.
Yeah, well, it was totally the proto Red Dead Redemption game, because I remember when the first time Red Dead Redemption came out, and everybody was so ooh and awed by it. I'm like, did you guys never play Gun? And they're like, no. I'm like, well, that's why. If you would have played Gun, it's like the game was already sort of set, and it just kind of took off from there.
To be fair, we'll get back to the comic in a second, but to be fair, it's one of those things, like, I guess it was kind of like a stepping stone, Red Dead Redemption, because I think everyone heard, like, Rockstar's doing a Western game, and everybody just immediately assumed, oh, Grand Theft Auto Western, and then they just said, how about we do that for the sequel? So, moving forward, that's kind of did, and Gun, the game, was kind of like that, but that has nothing to do, what we're talking about has nothing to do with that game, though.
Yeah, it's just one of those, that's like one of those things that, like, if I would have named my comic book Gun, that was the first thing I would have thought. I'm like, everybody's going to assume it's probably tied to this game. Well, everybody who's played this game is going to assume it's tied to this game. So not as many people as you'd think.
All 10 people?
Yeah, well, probably a little bit more than that, but it's still, for the people
yeah,
that
but you know what I mean,
Gun,
though. It's just one of those,
Yeah, it's one of those highly regarded ones, but for everybody else, not as much, But yeah, that's an interesting comic. I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. I like the artwork in it. It reminded me of, it sounds so weird. I had this, like, Three Little Pigs book when I was, like, a kid, and it had very similar artwork to this kind of style, where it almost has, like, that watercolor design, and it's kind of slightly creepy, but not too creepy.
Yeah, well, going into this, I'll be 100% honest. I had no idea. We were coming up on the podcast, like, we should probably do something a little different, and you want to just cover a random comic that neither of us have read, and I was just like, all right, so I was just skimming through, and I saw it, like, I was looking on Comixology, and I saw one for, like, 99 cents. I'm like, all right, I'll roll the dice on 99 cents, and it was just called Gun. I just kind of liked the cover of it. So, and looking at the cover, you would not have no idea what you're really in for, other than it looks kind of like, sort of like a edgy, modern noir kind of thing, other than that, but moving into it, you're like, oh, this is kind of a statement on superhero villains and everyday life is a low tier supervillain, which is kind of interesting. What it is it's essentially a heist story, a noir heist story where supervillains are trying to get away and the cops are more or less superheroes.
Yeah, well, and it goes through, like, multiple genre type stuff, because at first it starts off and it seems kind of like, almost like just, you know, your regular kind of indie superhero type comic where they're just trying something a little bit different, but that's really not what it is. That's like just the initial, like, handful of pages, and then the next thing you know, especially when you get to issue 2 and 3 of, like, the first kind of, like, section of the story, it's one of those ones where it's like, oh no, it's a completely different book than what it sort of starts off or kind of gets you thinking. You know, it passes you on, but it is kind of a cool way to go about it. It does have that thing where, because people always want to say that you can't do superheroes beyond DC and Marvel, and I've read too many indie comic books where it's like, no, there is all kinds of things you can do and so on. It's just you got to get a little bit creative. And by this one kind of doing the thing where it's like, hey, here's these, like, guys who are villains, who have been doing it for a long time, and, you know, it's just kind of like the different kind of aspects they have to go through of being kind of a villain, and, like, kind of what makes it who they are and how they have to go through it, and almost the problems they put up with, and kind of making it kind of, you know, we do it sort of like a job. It almost kind of gave me that feeling almost like the Flash villains in a sense, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, this, even though this isn't a Flash villain, it's a Green Arrow villain, the main character, his code name is Twist, and he's essentially a parody of Count Vertigo, of all characters, which you'd say, look, a lot of the characters, not all of them, but a lot of the characters in this thing are parodies of more well-known villains from Marvel and DC. I'm like, okay, so you're going to be doing like a Mr. Freeze, or a Two-Face, or like a Lex Luthor. Like, nah, like more like Count Vertigo and Firefly. What? Yeah.
Well, it's funny because even somebody in the book even calls him, they're like, hey, you Count Vertigo? He's like, well, no, but close.
Well, they even make
So
some
it's like
passing jokes for things. Like they'll say something like there's some point somebody's getting some like kind of serum. He says like, okay, who gave you this? Sandman. Like, is that the guy that turns into like the sand? The guy made of sand? Like, no, that's like Sandcastle or something. I don't know. I get it mixed up. I also got it from that one clown. Like, oh, that guy's crazy. Oh yeah, I barely fuck with him.
Yeah, it has like all kinds of little like nods and everything inside there, which just kind of makes it kind of fun, but never too much so that it's like, yeah.
Well, it doesn't even really pull from. There's a couple obvious ones, and there's, a big splash panel where you see a bunch of supervillains at a committee. But overall, it's never really obvious who they all supposed to be. And it even kind of stands this way is even if you've never read any superhero stuff before, it's still interesting enough and to just kind of like how do I put it? Like, it kind of stands on its own, and I could watch this without feeling like, oh, this is a parody of something. Because every so often, when you get something that's like a satire or like trying to make, how do I put it? Like, whenever you have something that's trying to make a statement on superhero characters, it's like, all right, that's obviously supposed to be Superman. Okay, that's obviously supposed to be Batman. And that can still work, but sometimes it's just a little kind of like, all right, whatever. There's just kind of like a parody of these characters been done 1,000 times. But this one does a good job. If it is parodying somebody, it usually focuses on somebody who you'd only know if you read a comic. Like one of the villain, like she's not there too long, but one of like a parody of a hero they go up against is a parody of Katana from DC.
Yeah. So it's like they pick all that kind of the odd choice characters throughout it. And then it's not one of those kind of things, too, where, because, sometimes when you see the things where it's like, I'm going to say parody, but it's not really exactly what it is, but, like, there's, like, the people that make the book, they're like, I wish I was Watchmen kind of feel, and this one doesn't have that at all, but, like, there is always that kind of, somebody kind of gets involved, like, I want to make one that really, like, tries to tell you, like, how you're supposed to think about these superhero characters and dive in deep. It's like, yeah, you don't really need that, but what I like about this one, it just takes you away from that, and then next thing you know, it's almost like a Quinten Tarantino movie with characters that just happen to have superpowers. That's really kind of how it is. It's really like a regular story. They just happen to have some of these extra abilities.
Well, before we go too far into it, let's give credit where it's due. It's written and drawn by a guy named Jack Foster and lettered by Greg Sorkin and published by Reckless Eyeballs.
Which is really, that's just Jack Foster's company.
Oh, that's cool. All right. So, yeah, that right there. Yeah, anyway. So, I just bought the first issue for 99 cents, just out of curiosity. Like, let's see what this thing's all about. And as soon as you open up, God fucking damn it.
Yeah, you got, like, phone going off like nobody's business over there.
Yeah. So, anyway, I'm also I have the thing up because I'm just checking, like, credits on the phone, on the book and all that. The first thing you open up is our feature presentation, and it's like that 70s old retro, like our feet, which they put in front of a bunch of Grindhouse movies for a while.
Oh yeah,
that Quentin Tarantino and Rodriguez brought back.
Well, it's definitely got a very, very Tarantino feel to it, if anything.
Well, it opens up. The very first guy you open up on is Vertigo fighting this guy that looks like a cross between Judge Dredd and Evel Knievel.
Yeah, that's kind of true. I didn't think about it like that, but that's kind of what it's like.
Mm-hmm. And his partner just got shot. And, you see Twist. You see that he's got this black mask, but then he's just got this hoodie over his costume. Like, you see they have sort of, like, costumes, but they kind of, like, those people that look like, how do I put it? Like, those people you go to, like, Halloween, you go to, like, a Halloween party, but they just pick something up on the way there. Just like, oh, look, a Batman shirt, let me throw this on, and oh, little cheap little Batman mask. It looks kind of like that, but these guys are actually supervillains. And his partner is shot here, but they're just kind of moving through it like, all right, man, we just got to get through this. We got to get through this. We got this briefcase, and they're in the middle of a job, and shit just went south.
Yeah, exactly. So they're kind of going through this event right now, and there's like a kind of narration going by explaining the world and everything like that too, just to kind of keep you up with everything. And even that like Katana character's got that. She's almost got the skull candy kind of look to it to top it off too.
Mm-hmm. As they're going through there, well, the first people they come across is, I think, they have the whole like there's the Mexican like skull like Day of the Dead kind of thing going on. There's two of them. They're the It says they're the Diablo twins. They finish their sentences. I think they might supposed to be somewhat of a representation of the Royal Flush Gang from DC Comics, but just kind of like the whole like Day of the Dead twist.
That's probably right. I didn't think about that, but once you kind of point that out, that definitely feels like it.
So they just then he has a little narration, just like. Got the suitcase. Hopefully it's bulletproof. It's not. Falling out the window. And then hopefully something breaks my fall. It does, luckily. And then they keep going. And it's essentially... He's kind of going into, like, some of the rules. Like, all right, you don't make up your own name. If you make up your own name, you're an asshole. So you hope you have a cool name. Like Doc Hangover. Or, something like that. But no, they gave me twists because... They see twists when they get hypnotized and get dazed, so now I just sound like a fucked up pretzel vendor.
Yeah, exactly. So he's just got kind of like a basic name, and it's like his powers aren't nobody really thinks his powers are exciting or anything like that. I mean, it's like the only thing he really do is make someone feel like they just got off like the tilt-a-whirl or something like that.
Which is fitting, because I'll be honest, Count Vertigo was never one of my favorite villains. I mean, he's there. It's like, oh, okay, he's there, whatever. I know I never really hated him, but I just thought that was kind of an interesting choice. Like, if everybody you're going to parody and make the main character of this, you choose Count Vertigo, and that's not me complaining. I just think that's actually an interesting choice. I would never have thought of that.
You never know. That could have been that guy's favorite superhero was Count Vertigo, and like, you know what? They just never did him justice. I'm going to take him to the next level.
I guess because he's one of those guys, I mean, maybe there is a couple of stories where they did flesh him out, maybe, but he just never came across as like a Flash villain, where, yeah, he's colorful and dopey looking, but at the exact same time, the thing with Flash villains is, it's just interesting, because they're like these, a lot of the people in this, I'm not sure if it was intentional, but they come across as Flash villains in the way of like, we're working class guys, it's not that we're all bad people, it's just we're all blue collar guys with like light background in science, and we just don't want to go through the fucking meat grinder. We just want to get rich quick and hopefully get away from it.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is, because they have the whole heist thing's almost like, we got this one heist, and he meets this lady kind of in this, they kind of have like almost a get-together meeting of supervillains and so on. Everybody's kind of talked about it, and there's this lady that he meets that she's pretty much like, she's only doing crime just to get away from it. She's the ultimate, like, you know what, I just need to do this one job, and that's it. I'm not a villain. I don't want to hurt anybody and something like that. I just want to make sure I'm not screwed. I want to make sure that we go through with this, and, I can get my cash and get out of here.
Well, when they get there, too, that whole, what I like with that meeting is, it's just kind of like, it's meant to be treated as like somewhat of like a job fair kind of thing. It's like, all right, here's this leftovers of what was called the Murder Syndicate, which was some time ago a really badass group of criminals, but now it's just a bunch of like old wash-ups and old henchmen that have nowhere else to go, and they're trying to make a name for themselves. So, and no one's really in costume. You see a few people kind of in costume, and they're all just like, "What the fuck we do?" And he's just like, "All right, guys. So if you have any jobs, keep an eye out. Pass the word on." I thought that was kind of funny. It's kind of like a job fair for supervillains, but it's like rented out, like it, like just like it looks like a community college or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like nothing fancy, nothing special, and I think there's almost something to be kind of said about that when like you just take it to like that level where it's like, okay, we don't have like a Legion of Doom kind of hangout. We're just gonna be like, hey, regular guys need some regular jobs that just happen to be a little bit on the darker, crime oriented side. That's it.
And when they get there and he meets Olive, and he's kind of flirting with Olive for a little while. He's like, I don't know you, but I'm trying to figure that out. It's like, I can figure out who you are. It's you're Captain Vertigo or something. All you wear is that stupid domino mask, like something like that, yeah. And as they're talking for a little while, he's flirting with her, like, you're a bad guy, right? Yeah, give me your purse. And then, just kind of joking around slightly. And then here was a interesting thing, I thought. They introduced this guy named Agent Orange, who looks like kind of like Walter White mixed in with a little bit of like a white supremacist. Well, I mean, I guess he's already bald, so he's halfway there. But, you know what I mean? He has that whole kind of like crazy looking veteran type look to him, and then he's his friend, who I think his friend was Harry, or was it Henry or Harry, something like that, and he's just kind of like the dumb muscle guy, but they're just good friends, and they're talking, just introducing each other, and some gunshots go off, And they're like looking around, like, how long for the cops get here? This neighborhood? Half an hour. And they just run in there saying, oh, what can we steal? And it was like a pawn shop.
Yeah, exactly. And they get don't they? Then they find there's the lady on the ground who's like dead, and they're like, "Oh man, she's gonna be worth more than anything else we're gonna find in here."
Because they realize that, oh wait, this is character. I don't remember what her name is, like Hammond or something, but she is meant to be like a parody of Katana from DC Comics. So they're looking at her like, like let's patch her up and get her out of here. She's still alive. Like, all right, first off, why the fuck are we bringing saving a superhero? Secondly, you're not bringing it to my fucking place. Like, no, do you realize she has history with some villains we know. This is our fucking golden ticket. They'd pay high price to fuck with her. You know, it's like, oh, okay. And that's the one thing about the book that's like, it's not like, ew, why did you do that? Like, these are supervillains. I get why they do that. But that's the one part where you're just like, it makes it a little harder to root for them, but it's not one of those things that's going to stop me from reading the book.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't bother me at all. They are supervillains, so I kind of expect them to, you know what I mean? Like,
I guess when you saw the killer, because they decided they're going to, like, sedate her, and they put her in this auction, and then when you see the killer croc guy licking his lips, that's like, oh, okay, that's a little creepy, but whatever. I get it. They're all villains, and they even say, look, if it was you on the ground bleeding out, what do you think she would have done? She would have thrown you in jail? Probably same thing. That's kind of their justification for it.
Yeah, exactly. It's that kind of thing that's like, you know what? It's an opportunity. I'm gonna take it. You know, you don't have to have this like, you know, a high moral code is fine for someone who doesn't have problems.
Yeah, that's kind of the way they treat it. So moving forward, what they end up doing, and that don't take that as me being like, ew, I found that offensive. I'm like, they're a bunch of bad guys. I get why they do that, but that right there was one part like, okay, well, you know, if something bad happens to them, I get why, because this kind of shit happens. But then, surprising, some of the characters get away just fine. So
she knew the risk when she took the job.
So they say that in there, yeah. So they decide, maybe you can remember, but because I actually read it like 2 days ago, but they come up with the scheme. Orange. Well, first off, Orange is automatically not a really. He's kind of a weird kind of guy. He's like, because they're inside of his apartment. He's good at mixing chemicals. His whole thing is he's a chemist, and he kind of make like deadly mixtures or gases out of anything. And they say, all right, well, what's with this apartment? It's kind of gross, kind of weary. And he's all like, just like no woman's gonna come in here. Like, that's why I prefer the company of Thai lady boys. Like, oh, okay, oh, shit.
I think you just said Thai women. The boy thing was the second line after that.
I thought it was Thai lady boys.
No, because I double read that one, and then it wasn't that. It was like, oh, okay.
Oh, okay, all right.
He said something like, I prefer the company of Thai women. That's right, boys. And then, like, something like that. Because I remember I double-taked on that, too.
I'm, like, only a moment away from that. I gotta double-check that for myself. No, but yeah, it's one of those things where they're there, and they come up with... I don't remember why exactly, but they say, I guess to keep... Or
maybe it is, yeah, Thai ladyboys. I actually prefer it. It's got a hyphen in it.
Oh, okay. So, regardless of that, though, he ends up that for some reason part of the scheme to make it seem like make them less likely or something, he puts a fake hit on them. And he says, okay, you two lay low. I'm going to put a fake hit on you. And then moving from there... What was his reasoning exactly? I don't remember entirely.
For the Agent Orange's reasoning?
For putting a fake hit on them for 2 days while they lay low.
It was something about how they were going to get their money. I can't remember exactly why, but that was kind of part of like the deal to, I don't know, to maybe make some more money or so on, and then they're going to fake it all. But it never really came back to that. That's what kind of threw me off, because or at least so far in the book, it hasn't got that far to it, so that's where I kind of already forgot.
Yeah, so after that, though, like, okay, it's been 2 days. We drank, we hung out. Let's actually go see Agent Orange and see what it's all about. And when they go there, they look like he's fucking dead. They're trying to figure it out. And then all of a sudden, there's this robot, this cowboy-looking robot that comes down. I'm not sure. He's probably just would be an original character because I couldn't really pinpoint who he was entirely. And they're... it's kind of funny because he has his monologue going on and he's kind of nodding off like, I've gotten into plenty of fights before. I've gotten fights with myself from the future who ends up causing the end of the world somehow, and I had to stop that. I ended up fighting symbiotes, gods, demigods. So he's just naming off all these different things that if you read enough comics, like, oh, okay, all right. And as they fight this guy, though, they're just trying to get away, and he's realizing his vertigo's not working on him because this guy's a robot. But that's when we realize that Olive, who's been hanging out with him the whole time, actually has super strength.
Yeah, and it's kind of an interesting way it goes about her super strength. It's like she's got like enough strength where she could probably lift a regular sized car, but like nothing more beyond that. So it's just like it's not like Superman strength, or it's not like, you know, Miss Marvel strength or something like that. It's an interesting kind of way. It's just like it's like limited. It's stronger than an average person, but you know that's as far as it goes.
What's like? Can you lift a car? Probably. Can you lift a house? Like I don't think so. Like a whole part where it just kind of rails on like that for a minute.
Yeah, you know, and I think they have this huge battle with the robot and so on, and then that's all. I want to say that was kind of the end of the book of the first issue. Wasn't that pretty much about that? I can't remember exactly by this point. They all kind of run together.
I'm sorry, the audio went out for a second, but I heard you saying I can't remember at this point. They run together.
Yeah, like as I want to say that robot battle was the first issue, and then it goes in the second one where they're like the Toad Chinaman guys like place to buy like excess drugs and so on and get superpowers for like a moment, which I thought was kind of an interesting thing. It's like so you can pretty much, if a superhero dies, you can extract their blood, or maybe they don't have to die to do this, but I remember they say that like they would die and they extract them, and then for like a limited time, if you inject yourself with it, you get that superpower for like a half an hour or something like that.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. So there's a part where they're trying to get away from this. After that, they have another. They have an, on the issue 2. Cause yeah, the whole where they're fighting the robot cowboy looking guy. That's issue 1, and then with the part you're talking about, because I believe at some point Twist, he takes like the blood of a superhero that can like teleport different limbs of his body or himself at the exact same time. So you have this interesting chase where there's this guy. I guess he's meant to be sort of like maybe just kind of, I don't know what he's supposed to be. Maybe kind of like a cybernetic version of the Punisher or something to that effect.
Mm-hmm.
Chasing them down. They have this whole crazy chase on a train, and he is like one of those things where he like teleport his fist through a portal and then punches him in the face, kicks out his leg, and it's this very creative action scene.
Yeah, just where he's just using those teleport powers to the max for the half an hour that he gets it. And then I almost want to say that Punisher like guy has like, doesn't he pull a teleportation too? He's like, you know, 2 people can teleport in this game.
Like I think he jumps in after the teleport after him or something to that effect. Yeah. And because I actually finished off the third book today. Number 2, I'm a little iffy on. I should probably came into that one a little bit more prepared. But no, yeah, because he gets that whole thing where he can teleport just himself to different parts of his body, and they manage to get away. They don't kill. I don't believe they kill this guy, but they end up going over to this whorehouse, which is also kind of like a sanctuary to a certain extent, and also like a kind of a safe house for supervillains.
Yeah, it's like the old like Mermaid Lagoon style, kind of like if you were at I think the Mirage in Vegas had that kind of theme to it. I could be kind of wrong, but or like, you know, back in the 50s, they, you know, had this here where like it entertained the children and the businessmen if they're like margarita or not margaritas if they're martinis. But now it went to hell and mob took it over, and guess what? Now it's a place for superheroes to hide out in the whorehouse. You know how it goes. You know how life treats you.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it just became this thing for supervillains to go hang out and do shit in. So, and then they kind of go from there. He's still trying, all right, I can't believe this girl has fucking superpowers. Why didn't she tell me? And they get there, and this character, there's like the femme fatale lady who's running it all. I think what's her name? Amnesty? Yeah, I think it's Amnesty. Yeah.
Something like that. She looks like a character out like Rocky Horror Picture Show or something.
Yeah, Amnesty. You have to let us stay here. You can't kick us out, Amnesty. I'm not sure if that's what he's saying or if that's what that was her name. Madame Schadenfreude. Yeah, and you see a lot of the hookers there are old washed up supervillains well, because you see this like frog or fish looking lady behind them, and there's one lady there that is definitely like a homage to Big Barda.
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, I think it's just like that thing too. It's just like for some people, it's that kind of thing for. It's almost the idea that the people that have, if there's a bunch of people that have superpowers, what about the people that don't have that great of superpowers? You know what I mean? What do they do? You know what I mean? If you don't have the powers of Superman, or you don't have the powers of the Flash, or you don't even have the powers of Spider-Man or something like that, what do you do when you just got, like, mediocre powers? And I think that's sort of like what happens to these people. They just kind of get washed up, like, oh, well, when I was in high school, I had all these, people thought I was cool and I had all these sweet powers, but then I realized it got me nowhere in life, and now I'm on Route 66 sucking dick somewhere. Don't know how
That's where life takes you.
That's where life takes you. Well, that's okay. Go below the mermaid area. Here, there's a mattress down there. Why is there a mattress down there? I don't know. Here it is.
Don't question it. Ignore the stains.
Ignore the
There's
stains.
a thing with it.
At some
say,
point,
like,
someone
ignore
will
the
bring you
stains.
some sheets. Some point.
Maybe. You gotta pay a little extra for that, though.
And then they're just down there, and then it's kind of like, okay. And I think that's almost like about the end of this issue. I think he does have like a dream at some point, or some kind of like or like they're looking like the stars or something.
They're looking at the stars, and there's
like,
a superhero that kind of would make shapes in the sky, and there's also like this Green Lantern-esque hero up there working on satellites all the time. They're talking about.
And then like I think the issue ends with like they have like pretty much like the black exploitation like lady's like, her name is Coffin Black, and she's on the hunt with her like alien friend Zix, or however you pronounce that guy's name.
Yeah, that whole part.
So that's where it also has like another very like Jackie Brown-ish kind of feel and so on. So there is like a lot of this like Tarantino stuff as it goes on. But then and I think then we get into issue 3, which at first just like kind of just jumps around to God knows where, if I remember correctly.
Well, I'll be honest. I mean, not to bring it down, because I liked all 3 of these. Issue 1 really stood out. Issue 2, and I guess it's a case of a lot of like 3-act movies. Issue 2 kind of slowed down for a minute. And the opening was pretty cool. But then issue 3 I was pretty hooked the whole time. Because when issue 3 opens up, you got a couple of heroes talking. I keep on wanting to say villains, because they're in the position of the antagonist. But essentially, it's like a Doctor Strange / Superman / maybe it's supposed to be Black Bolt, even though he can talk. But yeah, essentially them talking about like, yeah, well, kids today, they don't like to wear the capes. Like, I like the cape. I mean, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's the rest. So they're talking like that, almost as if it's kind of business. Like, yeah, they don't like the capes no more. Maybe it's an elitism thing. 'Cause a lot of times it presents majesty. Or what about the half cape? Like, I don't know about that. Well, James Brown pulled it off.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, kids gotta get their fucking capes back. I don't know what's wrong with them. But then it kind of goes on, and then it's like, for some reason, like the Madame lady, like she wants to like, dye Olive's hair for some God knows reason. I'm not too sure why. It just kind of happens.
Well, she's talking. At first, she's all talking her into like, she's like, I don't see how, you're all these women with power. I don't see how you can kind of go into what you do. I don't see how you can go into being to this whorehouse, and you're so smart, you're so powerful. It's like, well, there's different ways of using power and all that. You can bring a guy down to his knees with the right moves and all that. And at some point, I don't remember why she dyes her hair pink exactly, but yeah, moving forward from it though, they end up trying to say, okay, we're going to try and make this right, because that's where they realize that Agent Orange fucked him over. They realize Orange isn't actually dead. He faked his death, and he's trying to run away with the rest of the money. So out of that, Twist goes like, mother, I'm going to go fix this. I'm going to make it right. Stay here at the horror house, the mermaid place. I'm going to make this right now. So he goes off, and when trying to track down, he goes to he finds this sacred mirror that's something like this Doctor Strange parody character goes in. And he's going in there to essentially get, I want to say, they still have the sword from Katana from earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But then from there, he's just trying to go in, and I actually, I'm kind of drawing a blank right here. He goes in there to I think he's going in
because it gets all fucking weird. It's all like Egyptianified, and that guy, like that Doctor Strange guy, almost becomes even more and more like a Flash Gordon villain and so on.
Well, I think it's one of those things. No, that's what. He was there. He was sneaking into the area because he's sneaking into the hero's base where they have the body of Orange, and he took enough pills to make it look like he's dead, but he's not. He's in waiting. That's why he's there. That's why.
And then Coffee Black's coming in as like a bounty hunter to like bring these two in because of that hit that was put up from Agent Orange.
And he grabs them. He's like, all right, here's where we're fucking going. And then Zex and Coffee Black comes in here. And this whole thing, what I like about this part is because it's kind of showing all forms of this world. Because the beginning of it was showing a little bit more of the low crime, and they mention it offhand, like, oh look, a superhero got shot. We can maybe take him, kidnap him, and sell him off, and auction him off, and make some money. And then they're showing this is leading into the big crossover, intergalactic type thing that a lot of annuals do. Because every so often, you'd be reading a Batman book, and it crosses into some other books, and the next thing you know, there's like 25 Batmans from alternate realities, and they're fighting like a giant, fucking alien creature of some sort.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like all like utter chaos just come. Well, those are those ones too. It's like, oh, so you want me to go out and read those other books? I'm assuming now, because now I'm kind of confused.
Yeah, so this is them kind of going in there saying, all right, well, it's bringing in these other characters. So it's bringing in the kind of, okay, here's like the Doctor Strange parody. Here's his character coming in here, coffee. And like, I thought it was kind of funny when shit starts to go down, because they slash somebody, blood gets onto this ancient artifact, and the Doctor Strange character is like, no, you fools! And like this tentacle monster comes out of the ground. The Black Coffee character runs and hides into this coffin, and it closes in on her. Blood shoots everywhere. Then she comes out. She's like, I am Momfra, or whatever. Like, oh shit, not this. And then they go in. The other guy, the whatchamacallit, the Zet's guy gets pulled down into the ground, into hell or whatever.
Yeah, I know there's all sorts of stuff almost kind of going on, which makes it kind of have that feeling like it almost seemed like because it goes from just being like, I guess in that second issue, like there's not like a whole lot happening. You're still like learning more about these characters, but it's very one of those like, let's slow down for a moment and get to like, talk and learn here. So all of a sudden we get this one, and all chaos is breaking loose, and it feels almost like this would have been sounds like almost like a good like 6th issue, or even like maybe even a 4th or 5th issue, to a run. It definitely feels like it sort of jumps the gun on that. I'm not saying that's really like the worst thing, but where some of these characters might have been like Coffee Black could have been a little bit more fleshed out. I guess it's just like, she's a bounty hunter. She's Pam Grier from the 1974. Character. Yeah, it's like, that's kind of about it.
I even like that bug guy, but who knows? Maybe they'll come back, because, this is a world of comic book characters and magic and all that and crazy science. So in comic books, people always come back to life unless you're Uncle Ben, so.
Yeah, unless your Uncle Ben is like, I fucking knew it. I knew you were going to go to that damn wrestling show. I told my boy I didn't want him to be into the WCW.
I knew he was into watching boys in tights wrestle with other boys in tights.
I knew it.
Makes sense why he's wearing tights.
If I was alive, I'd make sure he'd never be wearing those tights. But yeah, as this thing kind of goes, like the mold breaks and everything like that, and they go through this like almost like Matrix-like tunnel, warping through dimensions and so on, and then it just sort of kind of ends, and it has like it literally has a space, or like has a Cowboy Bebop type ending to it.
She literally says, "See a space cowboy." So it's like, for the people to know that, there you go. Or unless maybe, what if you just like, no, I never even heard of that show. I just like Steve Miller a lot.
Yeah, you never know.
But no, she even that whole part right there, where things get intergalactic and crazy. That's also where the robot bounty hunter guy comes in here. He says like, no, dude, you don't gotta try and kill us anymore. The bounty's over. The bounty's over. And then like Agent Orange is still there, and he's all like, oh, no, I'm not here to kill you for the bounty. What damage you guys did to me the bounty wouldn't even cover that. I'm just here to fucking kill you. And Agent Orange is like, kill them now, kill them. It just blows Agent Orange up, and he knew where the money was wired to. It's like, well, fuck. There we go. That happened. And then they have to get out of there, and essentially while the superheroes are essentially trying to fight this thing off a bit, it then partially goes into them just trying to get out alive more than anything else.
Yeah, it's almost like they like kind of leave the superheroes there as a patsy, and it's like, dude, we got to get out of this. We are like so over our head in this battle.
And the superheroes are essentially just like, you know what, they got this. They're the superheroes. They can handle this type of shit. Like, you got floating pyramids in the sky, all this and that, and they use the mirror to get the fuck out of there. The mirror he got there in the first place. And then they essentially, like you said, they have the see you later space cowboy thing with Olive, saying, I don't know what I'm gonna go do. I'm not gonna go into supervillainy shit. I mean, I could because thing blinked out for a minute.
Oh.
So like, yeah, I could go into supervillainy, I guess, because I got the superpower. But at the exact same time, though, I don't really want to do that. That's your guys' thing. Good luck to you. And I thought this was kind of funny because I'm not sure where the second series is going to go off to, because there's a second series going on right now. But I thought it was funny when Twist is there and there's a guy at his door, and this dude, he's like, "Hey, I'm the guy in the mask and the goggles that you fought a few weeks back." Like, oh, you found me? Like, yeah, there's a tracer in the goggles. Like, oh, we have to fight? Like, no, we don't have to fight. I kind of want the goggles back. Well, I like the goggles, so you can't have them. They just stand there like, do you want to play Call of Duty? Like, all right.
Yeah, just like, oh, okay. Well, it's like, would you want to invite somebody in who's like, yo, I traveled all the way across the world to get my shit back. Oh, you don't want to give it up now? Well, here, come on in and hang out. That just sounds like you're setting yourself up in a small corner.
Yeah, at the same time, though, I just thought that was kind of like,
I know it's supposed
you know
to be,
what,
it's
we've
supposed to
done
be
this.
funny. That's all. I know that's what it's going for, but that's how I kind of feel. Like, oh god, that sounds very dangerous.
I just like it's going, we've done this big hero and villain dance. What's it gotten both of us? I don't give a shit. I don't care. Want to come in? All right.
And then there's a handful of these epilogues that kind of come on by too, which it goes into one for Olive as well too, which, or at least somewhere where it's like she goes back to the mermaid place, the Mermaid Lagoon, but something's different, but we don't know what yet.
Mm-hmm. And then they're bringing in like, oh, there's this big event going on called Slaughter Ball, which is this, it's kind of like, Cannonball Run meets Rollerball, and just this cross-country thing of villains.
Yeah, it's almost like the Battle Angel Alita kind of like game that she plays in that too. That's what it sort of reminded me as well.
So that's kind of, I don't even know if the same characters from this carry over into that, because it looks like a different character is on the cover for that. I'd be into debuting that one.
Yeah, as I said, this book is really interesting. It's got amazing artwork in it too, just something like that cool painted look to every single frame and so on, but still has like, a very kind of like indie, like relatable look as well too. It's like a mixed match of like two things. Like it's got like that kind of, like I guess you would say the simple artwork, but then you mix it with the really cool paint, and it, like, I don't know, it gives a very unique feel to the whole book. And yeah, I like the whole thing. I thought, yeah, I would definitely be down for like book 2 and see where it goes from there.
I guess what's interesting, because the artwork does look simple, but it looks good, and I think, like you said, the paint really helps with that. Because a lot of the characters have those simple, like, dots for eyes kind of artwork, that somewhat 1010-S artwork. When you get closer up to their face, like, okay, that's a little bit more detailed, but a lot of times just that simple little, oh, this dude has dots for eyes, and I kind of like that. I don't see that a whole lot anymore. Kind of like that old, like, Bruce Timm Superman look.
Yeah, there's something to be said. Sometimes keeping it simpler almost makes for a better look than trying to go too complicated. But in this one, it's kind of like you got the sort of the simple drawings, but then the painting itself just like really fleshes it all out. So I like that. I think the artwork, if anything, is like sells you right off the bat. You know what I mean? And it sounds like that's how you've picked the book up. You just look at the cover, and it's like, yeah, the artwork. This is one of these ones that you would have, if it was in the store and there was a physical copy, you would have flipped through it and be like, yeah, I'll take this. I don't know what it's about, but I'll take it.
That probably would have happened to me. Yeah, because, looking at this thing, I was just going solely off the cover. And I know they say you can't always, you can't, what's that cliche? You can't
Judge a book by its cover.
Can't judge a book by its cover. Well, I don't know, comics, I feel like you kind of got to.
I think comics have literally been designed to be judge a book by its cover. As long as it's just, the only thing I just don't like is when there's the cover has a different artist than what the inside artwork is. That's always kind of annoying. So you're like, oh, dude, this artwork looks awesome. Then you open the book up and you're like, oh, it's not bad, but it's definitely not what I thought I was getting myself into. I feel like that's misleading. I mean, it's one thing if it's a variant cover and you know it's a variant cover, but some books don't have, like, they just have, like, that is the cover. But yeah, no, this book's really sweet. I'll put a link in our description there so you can pick it up on Amazon or Comixology or wherever the heck it is. And yeah, definitely check out Gun. I look forward to seeing what the second part's like. Everything about it is just a totally fun read, cool artwork, great action, superhero kind of stuff that goes like, into like a Tarantino kind of vibe and does its own thing. Check out Jack Foster's book. Good times to be had. But beyond that, though, you can go to oldmanorange.com for more comics, podcasts, music, movies, all that fun stuff. Check out Pizza Boys. Pizza Boys with a Z. That's on Comixology, Comix Central, Amazon, and all that good stuff. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
We'll see you some other time.
Later, folks.
Thanks again for listening to the Old Man Orange podcast. Sure, check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, cartoons, music, animation, and a whole lot more. We also have the Old Man Orange blog going with all kinds of fun stuff. If you easily want to support the show, use one of our Amazon links either on the website or in the description of the podcast below. Rate, review, and subscribe to the show either on Podbean, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Newgrounds, or anywhere else that you seem to get this podcast from. Grab the sitcom-styled comic book Pizza Boys on either Comix Central, Comixology, or Amazon. Want more podcasts? Check out the Indie Comics Club over at Comix Central. I also got a workout website called Thor's Hidden Gym, filled with fitness tips and tricks, videos, and a whole lot more fun stuff in the calisthenics world. Talk to us on Twitter at Spencer S. Holmes and Dunigan Ryan. Like our Facebook pages of Old Man Orange Productions and Pizza Boys Comic. Thanks again, we're out of here.